Okay, we've probably been boiling for about 20 minutes or so, and you can see the colors really coming out of the berries. So we're getting a lot of the good stuff out. But when I take my berries and try to smash them, they don't really smash very easily yet. And this was the problem I had the last couple of times because I was trying to smash them too soon and they weren't ready to burst. But when they've been boiling for the right amount of time, they'll just smash to nothing. So anyhow, but you can see the colors really coming out. Look how beautiful that is. Really, really nice. So I've just been doing a slow stir and moving it around. And every few minutes I go ahead and try to smash a few up against the side and see how well they smash. But right now I'm sure I'm wringing out some juice, but the berry's not bursting into a million pieces. But I do know that last time, after a certain period of time, boy, they went to mush, and that's what I was trying to achieve. Was for them to smash up really, really easily without having to do a lot of work. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we're getting there. And we got all of our jars and stuff in here. I put all the utensils in there to start with, but I pulled out all the plastic utensils because I didn't want it to get too hot. And if I don't keep stirring this, it's going to boil over. So I have to keep it moving. So I'm sure most people just bring it to a rolling boil. And I'm probably achieving that temperature, but by stirring it, I'm keeping away from the boil. Because the pot's too full, it just boil over. And it is a pressure cooker. I could probably just put the lid on, or I could have used 2 pots. And I'll probably separate this into 2 half pots as I run it through a crusher. I have a tool that I've never used before, but I just cleaned it and sterilized it, and we're going to give it a shot. It's right here. My mom and dad had a flea market at one time, and this is just one of the odds and ends, or maybe it came from my grandparents. But it's a strainer, and we just washed it with hot soapy water, and you just set it over a pot and dump your stuff on the inside. But it's too big to dump it right straight back into the same pot. Now I added a 1/4 cup of the coconut palm sugar, but that doesn't make it sweet. That's more for flavor. And then we added 1 cup of regular sugar, and my daughter didn't really like it. She thought it was still a little sour because of all the lemon juice we added. But you got to add the lemon juice. That's part of the preservative. And I probably added another 1/4 cup of sugar, but I tried it and I thought it was adequate as it was. I really liked it. But the other thing I'm doing is I'm adding this to lemonade. So I'll put maybe a 1/4 cup of this or 1/2 cup of this into a 1.5 gallons of lemonade. And then the whole day I'll drink the whole gallon of lemonade, or most of it anyway. And that gives me quite a bit of the elderberry. Anyhow, I'm going to turn this back off, and when I get ready for the straining part and the smashing part, I'll turn the camera back on. Look at that beautiful color. Wow. So if you had to go to the store to buy that at the health food store, there's no telling how much money that was. And these berries were free. They were on the side of the road. All it took me was a little gas and a little time, and I enjoyed it. Got some exercise. It was fun. I went out with a friend and picked a bunch. He gave me the whole 10 gallons, and I went out with another friend and I gave him the whole 10 gallons. So anyhow, this is really, really good. So we've been drinking it since last probably June, and it's February, and I still got 1 more batch to make after this, or maybe 2 more, enough for 2 more batches. At least enough for 1 more. But I try to make it in smaller batches, and that way I don't have to worry about keeping it for a year. I probably could have made it all back in last June. But for me, it was easier just to leave the berries frozen in a gallon bag. Anyhow, I'll turn this back on when I get ready for the smashing part. It's coming out really nicely. Okay, the one thing I forgot to say was after I put all my berries in here, I only added enough water to really cover them, and now that they're thawed out, I got my friend here stirring them for me. I washed all my stuff in hot soapy water, and then I just went ahead and threw it in my canner, and that'll kind of help sterilize everything a little bit more, even though it's already clean. But sterilization is a big thing. A lot of people have died in the past from not being sterile. Sometimes this crock pot was given to, or canner was given to me by my brother. Sometimes the lid doesn't seal, so I bought a new O-ring, and sometimes it still doesn't want to seal all the way. So I have to really check the pressure when I'm do the last step. But we don't let it sit around for years. We actually eat this stuff and drink it within a few weeks or a month. And there's some pears that we canned a short time back. And anyhow, this is February, and I think we canned these in November or December. But that's probably all we have. That's all we have left. But it's just we did about 4 times that much. We've made several pies. In fact, I'm fixing to make some individual pies instead of the great big pie, so I don't have to eat a whole bunch of great big ones or eat the whole pie. I'm the big pie eater around here anyway. But she's probably getting a little carried away stirring, but she feels like she's getting a good job done. So, but what I noticed the last few times was when it gets boiled to the right point, the berries will pretty much burst on their own. I kept trying to smash them up against the side and then do other things to try to crush them. But it kept taking longer and longer and longer, and after a while I realized when they boiled long enough, maybe 20 minutes or so, maybe 30 minutes, I don't really remember, but they just burst all on their own. I didn't have to do a bunch of smashing with the potato masher. So be sure and boil them long enough to where they want to explode and release their juices. But I got my canner and all my stuff sterilizing. Well, the only thing I didn't put in there was the magnet. I need to clean the magnet. I need to find the magnet. But anyhow, I'll gather up the last couple of tools. But I think the magnet's the only thing I gotta look for. But when things get a little bit further along and I get ready to start doing the mashing and the straining, I'll turn the camera back on and we'll go from there. But you don't need to watch her stir for 20 minutes. Okay, we put the frozen berries in the pan, and maybe we should have let them thaw out because they all froze together as a great big clump when we added the water. And because I ran them across the paper towel and kind of blotted them dry before I froze them. And then I froze them a little at a time and then kept adding to the bag. Once they were frozen, then they didn't stick together. But once they hit that cold water, they all froze together. But we went ahead and had to turn the heat up because the pan was so cold. We've added half a teaspoon of cinnamon and a half a teaspoon of cardamom of the powder. And then here we're going to add 2 slices of ginger, about 6 cloves, and a little more cinnamon stick. And then we have maybe a 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Now we're just making the juice. We're not going to make jelly. If you're making jelly, you have to add more sugar, and we don't want to add more sugar. So, but we are going to try the coconut palm sugar just for fun, and we'll see how it comes out. But it always comes out good. But we're going to add the sugar toward the end so we can add it to taste. And that way, because elderberries aren't very sweet on their own. And when my wife comes home, she might throw in some blackberries or something else. We keep adding other stuff to it. But anyhow, this is the 3rd time we've made it, and we drink it all up and give it all away, and it's really good.
Do you know how to post it on YouTube?
No, we'll have to learn how to do that. But we're already filming.
Good.
Okay, these are our elderberries. We put just tap water in there, and everything froze solid. So we put it on medium-low heat and till it thaws out, so we don't burn the ones on the bottom. We're going to add ginger, cinnamon. We got cinnamon sticks and we got powdered cinnamon. We got cloves, cardamom, and lemon juice, and sugar. And we got some coconut. What is that, Tina? Coconut sugar?
Yeah, coconut palm sugar.
Okay, we're going to add in. We're going to add a little of that. We just throw in a little bit of everything. And we're going to be drinking it ourselves anyway. It's not like we're selling it. So these are the ingredients that we like. And we keep changing it up. but these are the basic ingredients. Okay, today we're going to make some elderberry syrup. I picked a bunch of elderberries off the side of the road in 2016. Now it's February 2017. Probably got enough for one more batch after this, but I've given away about 10 gallons of berries to people who were very grateful. I started digging up the elderberry plants and moving them over to my property in Tecumseh, Oklahoma. And so anyhow, let's get started. We're going to start off with some frozen elderberry. My daughter's already cut up some ginger, and we're going to put in some lemon and some cinnamon and a few other spices, and we will go through that along the way. But anyhow, let me get the pots on the stove and then I'll come back. Okay, it's coming up to a rolling boil now. And I was just lifting up the berries, and I came in here and kind of broke the tension a little bit. And I always stir it a little bit, make sure the ones on the bottom aren't getting burned. Shouldn't be a problem. And let's say about 15-20 minutes. So 5:40. So just before 6 o'clock, I will turn the heat down from high down to about 4 or so, and then leave it in there for another 30 minutes or an hour. And cook away that water. And we like our juice a little thick. Now, if you boil it long enough, it'll turn into jelly. But my family prefers the juice as opposed to everything else, so that's what we'll make. Okay, here's my partner in crime. She just couldn't stand it. I left the room and she ran over here and opened up a pot, and I came back and caught her. Now I put them on at 440, so they've been on just for an hour and 20 minutes. They have only actually been coming to a rolling boil for the last 20 minutes. Since they came to a boil, I turned them down from high to 6. So now I'll turn them both down to about 4, somewhere in there. And I'll pull off the lids, and I'm going to let it boil off some of the moisture. And what I usually do is take my little spatula and kind of press them around. I'm waiting to watch the shell kind of burst. Once the shell starts bursting on them, then I'll run them through the strainer and then put them back in here and boil them with the good stuff.